Here's a game. Let's see. Okay, white plays e4. Yeah, let's play e5, see what we get. Okay, the bishop's opening. Let's do the main move here, which is knight f6, hitting the undefended pawn. See what he plays. He plays the Urusov gambit, so this is cool. I actually recommended this in my Chess Basics series, but I've completely forgotten how to play it. I'm going to take. Could have taken the e-pawn, I guess. That's what makes it a gambit. He's not taking it back, so he's giving me another chance to take the e-pawn. But if I do, there's this pin along the e-file. It's kind of annoying. If he pushes on with e5, I'm thinking that I can play d5 and counterattack his bishop. But actually that doesn't work because he takes my knight, I take his bishop, he takes my bishop with an attack on my queen. So I cannot play d5 in response to e5. I have to find something else here. So there's knight g5, but that pawn is defended. Knight g4 rather, trying to round up the pawn, but the pawn is defended. There is knight to e4. That looks like the best square. That's among the available squares. It looks like the best one. The knight can come out to c5 or to g5. No, g5 is not available. But it can come out to c5, say if queen takes pawn hitting the knight. And can I play d5 now? Probably not. Yeah, you can just take it. I have other clever tricks like knight here. It's not working because this knight is guarding things on the king side. So I think I have to move my knight again. So the knight can come back to e6, so maybe it's not too bad. But, well, white got much better out of this opening than was deserved. If I had played better. So we'll check this out in the postmortem. See how that opening should be played. Yeah, white has all this space, and white has 3 pieces out, and I only have 2 pieces out. So, and it's white's turn to move. He can just castle here, which is probably a good move. I mean, I can play knight e6 with a tempo on the queen, but he can just trade. And I don't want to do that until I've castled first, at least. So maybe he's thinking of trying to find a way to stop me from castling. He could be thinking about sacrificing the pawn. No, he's not doing that. Sacrificing the pawn is interesting. I mean, he could have just played e6 there because that exposes an attack of the queen on b7. So if I took the pawn, queen could grab here with a tempo on my rook. That might have been a good move previously. Anyway, I'm just going to castle here. That protects the g7 pawn. I think I said b7, but I meant g7. And if he plays h5, I'll play h6. On most other moves, I'll probably play knight e6 and see if I can provoke an exchange. And yeah, knight e6 here. I'm not at all tempted to take his bishop and open up the h-file to my king. Obviously, he's playing in his attacking mode. It would be playing into his plans, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, if I were to do something like that. But yeah, there's no law that says I have to take, and of course there's no law that says he has to take either. Now I can play d5. If he takes en passant, I can take back with the queen. If he takes the bishop, I take back. It leaves my bishop hanging. Let's play knight to c6 first. And now maybe I'm threatening to play d5 because the knight defends my bishop on e7. So pawn to d5, bishop takes, queen takes, and then this bishop is still protected by the knight. Or pawn to d5, pawn takes, queen takes. I could, now my bishop's defending the knight in addition to the pawn and the queen, so that's all going to be fine there. If I were white, I would just develop the knight and castle queenside. Like knight to c3, that kind of puts a stop to d5, right? I could play d6, I guess. And I probably would. But say knight c3, pawn to d6, and he castles queenside. He's got the rook pinning that d-pawn. So what could I do about that? Yeah, okay, so he goes with c3 instead. So now's my chance to play d5, and I think I should. I'm not sure what he was worried about. Maybe he didn't like my... And the idea of me putting a knight on d4, but that was not going there, right? The queen and the knight had that square covered. So this opens up a line for my bishop. And gets my queen off the back rank. My rooks are nearly connected. He has a loose piece here. Okay, he's defending it with his knight. So, what to do here? Pawn to b5. Does that do anything? Kind of distracting his bishop. Kind of would like to... I have an idea. Maybe queen to c4, c5. Queen to c5 to trade queens. And if the queen moves... Yeah, the knight is still defended by my bishop, so he can't win a pawn here. So queen c5, his queen goes somewhere. Up or down or sideways. Or here. Can't go there. Up and down. Yeah, his queen doesn't have a lot of squares, so it's not, doesn't look like any of those squares improve the position of the queen. Then I get another move, maybe another move I can play with tempo. Well, let's start. It just seems like it's a good idea. If the queen moves away also, it keeps I'm keeping some pressure on the bishop. Maybe now I can play b5, kick the bishop. Provoke an exchange. I could also think about putting a rook on the e-file, maybe threaten to skewer along the e-file. That would just take a couple of moves. I need to defend e8 though. So maybe bishop d7, connect the rooks, and then rook e8. I hadn't quite figured out where to put this bishop. It looks a little vulnerable on d7. You know, part of the reason for getting the queen off the d-file is to prevent that skewer on the d-file picking up the bishop. Okay, decides to trade here. That's good. Good for me, I think. I guess I could have thrown in queen takes queen. Might have been better. If he plays something like knight to g5, then I will take the queen. So he plays that. He attacks my queen that way. Yeah, let's trade. I think this helps me. Okay, so he's... and now I need to find a way to develop. How about pawn to b6. That allows me to put a knight on c5 potentially, and it opens up the b7 square for my bishop. And he can trade here. This I do not fear. Probably good for me. Opening up that h-file is not nearly as dangerous as it was a moment ago. So where's the best development for the bishop? Maybe it doesn't even go on this diagonal anymore. It's just hitting that guy. I could put it here on f4. f5 rather. Keep a clamp on the e-pawn. I want to put my rooks, I want to centralize my rooks, maybe develop my knight to g6. And keep his king in the center, get some pressure on the e-pawn. That's the general plan here. So he castles, yeah. Let's centralize this rook anyway. Well, one thing I have to worry about before I do that is he could play knight to he could play knight to what e5 that is, knight to e5, and they kind of gang up on this f7 pawn. So let's play knight g6 first. Cover the e5 square, and then put a rook on the d file or the e file, or both. The bishop is covering d7, so the rook can't penetrate to the 7th rank. Maybe rook e8 is the better square for the rook anyway. Pile up on the backwards e-pawn. Yeah, so I should be better here. There's 3 pawns, 6 pawns, 6 pawns to 6, but my pawn structure is better. My king is less exposed. And, well, he just has this plan of ganging up on the h-file. I guess I can't blame him. It's a plan. When he plays rook to h1, my plan is to play knight to e5, forking the knight and the bishop, and defending the h-file with my bishop, the h7 square. I don't really want to take his knight, actually, now that I look at it, because yeah, so he goes there. Okay, let's gang up on that bishop. Yeah, I have to move the rook first. I was going to say I could play. No, I could have played. I could have played c6. I didn't have to move the rook. I could have played c6 right away. Yeah, unfortunately, he can play something like knight to h4. That attacks my bishop, and with the threat to trade it off and take on h7. I would probably counterattack his bishop if he did that. Maybe I could attack one of his rooks. Yeah, there he goes. He found it. Okay, so let's think about this. If I play c6, he plays knight takes. I play pawn takes bishop. He plays rook takes h7. I play pawn takes knight, or knight takes knight. And then the check seems like it's not going to cause any trouble. Let's see, he can retreat his bishop. Maybe that's what he should do here. But I needed to do that because I need the f7 square to escape. But when his rooks penetrate on the 7th rank, I can I can escape this way. That's my idea. So I don't know. He's probably going to end up a pawn or two up, though. He somehow managed to break through there on the H file. After all of that, he got through on the H file anyway. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, he's a pawn up, but his pawns are still scattered and weak. And he's very low on time. Okay, so he just grabs there. Let's take. And take. And then this pawn is going, or yeah, I don't see how he can defend it. He can defend it because that goes with check. If I play, if I were to incautiously play f6, he could take with check, and that might that would hit my rook. That'd be annoying. But now I can play f6 and take advantage of the pin on his rook. He can play. G4 there, defending his rook. Yeah, let's win a pawn. Let's threaten the other G pawn. And let's push this. So we've got an endgame here. I wonder if I should just go for the rook and pawn, or the king and pawn endgame. Let's throw in the check. His king went forward. That's interesting. Okay, yeah, let's start pushing these pawns forward. Let's create a passed pawn over here on the king side. My king is in a position to stop the queenside pawns, and his king is over here to support them. My rook is in a position to check his king from behind. So he can take. I'm thinking he can take. He can deliver that check. I'm going to stay over here on the queen side. And let's do that. And then start pushing the kingside pawns forward. So let's see, if I check here and then take. I check here. I guess he steps back to hit the king. To hit the rook, I mean. So we'll go for this kind of position. So both sides have a passed pawn, but my king is in front of his passed pawn. Yeah, that's true. He's got that his rook in front of my passed pawn. So it's probably a draw. But not if he goes there. Yeah, maybe it's still a draw. But my pawn is kind of far away from his king after he takes. I was about to say I would allow him to just repeat and go for the draw. I wouldn't want to win on time, but he just blundered right then, I think. Okay, well, good game. I will upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.